Thank you. Welcome to the Conservation Commission's meeting of Monday, March 8th. We're having a Zoom meeting in accordance with Governor Baker's regulations. If anybody has any problems with the power or anything else, we'll have to cancel the meeting and pick it up at a future date. With that being said, I'll open the meeting. Do we have any public comments? I do. I don't know how many of you watched the Selectmen's meeting last week, but Jane did a presentation to the Board of Selectmen and did a fantastic job. I just want to thank her for that. Make it a public acknowledgement of that. With that being said, we have a Neponset Reservoir presentation. Who's going to, Colin, are you going to do that, or Mr. Lewis?
Is Rick on, or?
I haven't seen him.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I can do it. It's fine.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so yeah, thanks for having me. I just wanted to kind of discuss our plans for this spring, summer. I actually started a new company with a partner myself. I've been working on Neponset for the past 5 or so years, but we started a new company, Water and Wetland, out of Upton, Mass. So it's our first year, but I do have a lot of experience with the reservoir. So the past 10 years, as you guys have known, we've been doing contact herbicide treatments out on the reservoir. It's been relatively successful. But this past fall, there's been kind of an explosion of fanwort, one of the invasive species out there, along with milfoil. So after speaking with Ken Wagner, who's been involved in the project for as long as it started, we came to the conclusion that Sonar, a systemic herbicide, was probably the best approach. We feel it's the best product for the reservoir. It's going to give a couple years of control rather than, the contact herbicides that we've been using. It only gives you a season-long control. I think would like to get back to using contacts, in the future when we get smaller areas, but the fanwort's just expanded too much. So, and I believe the last time we used systemic herbicide was back in 2009. It worked great, but like I said, the plants are just kind of taken off. So that's kind of the plan for this year. We wanted to get this meeting kicked off a little earlier this year because we do want to get, the herbicide in the water earlier than we typically do. We typically kind of shoot for late June, but this year, depending on the weather, if, we get another cold snap here in March, we'll see. But we definitely want to get the product in the water probably May, early May. So.
Okay, now with that, are you going to have the water level high, and then after the sonar gets in the water for a while, do we have to flush it out at a rapid rate, or how does that work?
No, so actually we want to, I know they lowered the lake this year due to a spill, if I'm correct. So that actually will help our chances. We want to keep the concentrations, high for about 60 to 90 days. So actually with the water level low, that helps out tremendously.
Okay, and do you have to flush it then after the?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Yep.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a question. So if you're trying to keep the concentration up for 60 or 90 days, are there prohibitions on the use of the reservoir during that time that should be posted?
Yeah, it will be posted. The only restriction, actually, Sonar is the only herbicide allowed for use in drinking water reservoirs, but there will be an irrigation restriction. So we will post that along, the shoreline.
Okay.
Okay. irrigation, meaning taking water out for watering lawns and such?
Yeah, just direct.
Okay, because that's not supposed to be happening
Right.
anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So if anybody's doing it, yeah, they're doing it illegally.
Yeah, we just want to be cautious, but there's no swimming, boating, any of those restrictions.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is a herbicide, so if they are using it for the lawn, it'll show up quick.
okay. All right. Elle, I love your background there. Were you in Peru recently?
Well, right before the pandemic,
Oh,
a little over a
good.
year ago.
Oh, a beautiful area.
Yes,
we were
it
there a
is.
number of years ago. So, any other questions from the board? Jane, any final comments? Jane?
I
Okay.
just said no. I shook my head and said no.
Okay.
My only comment would be, is this fanwort explosion because the milfoil was killed off, which I heard happens.
It's hard to say. I think it's slowly been creeping. The acreage has been increasing over the years, where the milfoil's kind of been shrinking over the years, but not to say that there's plenty of milfoil up there for sure.
Okay. Before you leave, Rich, are you on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Possibly exploring with the town to assist the NRRC with Schneider. Do you want to make any comments about that, or would you like to expand on that a little bit?
Well,
Actually, I'll interject myself there, Rich, if you don't mind.
go ahead.
Okay.
I've been in touch with the EPA, and we had meetings with them, with the town, maybe a year and a half ago, and
Right.
broached the subject that they would sort of be an intermediary for us to get some dialogue going with the DEP about potential future maintenance dredging on the reservoir. That even though we requested that be considered in the final decision, they ignored that request. And the EPA thought that it was a very normal thing that is worked out. And in fact, I got back in touch with the EPA and spoke to one of the people that we met with the town and our group. And he said that they're negotiating the same thing right now for Fall River, because they did a big dredging project there, but it's going to need maintenance dredging going forward. So they're trying to negotiate some wording to allow for that. And he thought that we could piggyback right on top of that and get the same type of agreement proposed by the DEP or written up by the DEP for the Ponset Reservoir, so that, they said, oh, well, if you litigate it with Schneider, you'll have no problem winning. But we said, well, we don't really want to spend our money on litigation. And it seems like this would be an easy fix by the DEP to take care of it this way. And at first, the EPA came back and said, oh, we'll take care of it. And then they said, well, send us a letter itemizing what you want. And that's when we thought about maybe we should retain an attorney. The attorney that we were involved with the town is no longer working for the town, and she's left, and she can't work for us directly where she is now. And so we thought we were going to have to retain somebody. But now the EPA is saying, no, don't worry about that. Let me have some open dialogue with them first, see what it can accomplish that way, and then we'll see if we can get anybody else involved. So where the last time we met with Rich, the discussion was who should we retain, And then the question is, well, should we be retaining that? Should we be doing it in conjunction with the town? It is the town's property and so forth that we're representing. But I don't know if that's imminently needed right now until he gets back to me.
Okay. Well, definitely keep us posted on how that turns out. And if necessary, we can get together, have a joint meeting with town manager and see what we can do with town council. I know Kate Connolly was the attorney that was working with, but her record should still be with the firm. We still have the same firm representing the town. So I would think that it wouldn't be too difficult for somebody else to pick up and run with it if necessary.
Right. And part of the reason why they've been slow on getting back to us about this, this was how it was explained to me, is that the Brian Olson, who was the lead for this with us, has been asked to step up and be the Region 1 administrator temporarily until somebody's named. And so he's been filling in that role now almost 6 months. And so he's had his hands filled with that and didn't really delegate this off to anybody until I called. So.
All right. Well, keep us posted and we'll do what we can.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else for Neponset resident?
Yeah, 2 questions. Jane, will they have to file any reports like they normally do, being that this is going to move up earlier into May? And the other question is, what if the water levels have to be brought up? Because 60 days, May, June, water levels are down, and we also got that oil issue. But what happens if all of a sudden they said that you can put the boards back in? How is this going to affect?
Yeah, maybe Colin wasn't clear on that, but our plan would be to install the boards right before we begin the treatment to contain as much of the water and as much as the treated water as possible during the treatment period. So putting the boards back in is a integral part of the whole treatment process. It's also where we typically do it is in the spring, would be next month, installing the boards back in anyhow. So to ensure that we have a full reservoir for the summer. So I don't know where things stand on the oil spill over Heaton's as to if anything has been done about that. The last time I looked, the oil spill booms were still in the water, or actually in the ice at the time. But I didn't know if anything had progressed on that or not.
I spoke to the LSP or the representatives that have been doing the work for Heaton today or yesterday. It must have been today. And because somebody had reported that there were holes in the water, must have been in the ice with oil in it. So they went out and they looked around and all, and they said that they couldn't find anything, and that they've been, they have refreshed the booms and such when needed. They've done several test borings, and something about Mr. Heaton's insurance holding up the process. So it's kind of dribbling along, it sounds like, but I suspect that the water will need to be kept somewhat lower, possibly, especially if they need to remove some soils. So that may be something you guys need to consider.
Yeah, we probably should have some sort of discussion with the LSP to make sure what we do doesn't interfere with what he's trying to accomplish.
Right.
Obviously, you know, even Mr. Heaton would call up or email me relentlessly, as you know, Jane, if the water level got too high and started to overflow above his dock area. And I know that would be an issue with any kind of, soil testing or soil removal if all of a sudden water's washing up on there. We've got some freeboard there right now that we'll want to take advantage of, but you're right, we don't want to get it too high. So, we may want to only put in 2 boards instead of 4 boards or something like that to try to contain some of the water without letting the water going up too high.
Yeah, you should probably I think you should definitely be keeping the DEP, Andy Jones, is it? I think his name, the
Okay.
person in charge, on what you hope to do or plan to do and how that might affect what they're doing and vice versa.
Can you email me his phone number?
I could, but not right now because our email is down.
Oh, okay.
So how
The
about you
email.
email me? How about you email me to ask for what his number, request his number. Otherwise, it
I can
may
do that.
go out of my head.
I can do that. No problem.
Okay, thanks.
Ultimately,
I thought I've been sending you copies of some. Maybe I didn't send the most recent information to you, but I usually send you copies of whatever our correspondence is.
I appreciate that. I just did that kind of work for like 40 years of my career. That's all.
So you might know a little about it.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I actually taught the LSPs. I was one of their instructors.
Oh, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Jane, this is Mary. I think that, we'll keep certainly extra close eye on the water levels. We'll have a goal. We'll have, levels that we will have to ultimately take boards down to let water out before we would jeopardize, any issues with the oil spill. So that only would potentially somewhat decrease the effectiveness of the treatment, probably more towards the end. But right now the water is quite low because we dropped it even lower than we ever have. But should it go higher, we have the opportunity to just take some boards down. We would have a mutual goal with the LSP of do not go over this level, and we would work closely with them and certainly keep you all informed and in the loop.
Good,
Sounds
we
good.
appreciate that, yep. Anything else with any other comments?
I guess I'll just answer the first question about the reporting. Ken Wagner will be doing the pre and post, and we will put together a report at the end of the year and send to the commission as well.
Right, that you guys have, what you need to do, and I think you have to give your pesticide application license, a copy of that, and you need to, it's all spelled out, and you've done it before, so yeah. I'm not worried about you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Jane, quick question. Do they need a determination or anything for a paper trail for this?
I think that their order of conditions, well, it's a slight amendment, but I don't know exactly. I don't have it in front of me, so I couldn't tell you for sure.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think we should, have some kind of a paper trail, if not on the last order of conditions, but something just to cover everybody's backside.
Well, in the past, we've done an amendment for certain things, but I can't remember how this, for other lakes, I don't remember how this one was written, if it specified what was to be used or if it was just specified that we would be updated.
Treatment. Yeah. Okay. Can you check that out? And so, I don't want to get into a bind where they've overstepped or we've neglected our due diligence.
They're pretty good though. I don't really have to harass them too much to get me my information.
Yeah, I know. I just want to make sure that everything is done correctly. That's all.
So Rick, do you know what your order says? Yeah, I'm sure you read it every night and have it memorized.
I don't have it memorized. I do believe it does cite a couple of the chemicals that we typically use.
Yes.
I believe it is set up for invasive species treatment with those chemicals. And I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure that this is the chemical we're proposing is on that list of chemicals that we would be using for it. I know we've had to get amendments to that previously when we did native species, the large leaf pondweed. We've done that twice, but that was very specific. We got a separate letter from you guys authorizing that and the specifics of how we were going to go about doing it.
Well, I think you probably sent me a letter already, but if you could send some sort of a letter explaining what you plan to do and then copy the DEP and cite the order of conditions number, the filing number.
Okay.
And, you know, look at the order and see what it requires. And there is something that talks about changes, although like I said, it seems to me it's kind of an open thing where you do your survey, you give a copy of your survey and the results of Ken Wagner's review of it. And your information is usually very complete, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to send us a copy of specifics as well as.
Yeah, the work plan that Colin submitted to us, I copied to Rich. I didn't copy to you. I should have copied you.
Rich sent me it, I think. He sent it to me, but it looked more like a bill than anything else, and I honestly didn't read it.
Yeah, we didn't edit out the costing in it, but it did have a map, and it did have some specifics in there as to what we'd be doing in way of the work plan. So yeah.
Well, maybe if you could cut and paste that and then stick it on a letterhead from the NRRC or whatever and copy the DEP and send it our way.
Yes.
By email would be fine.
Can do.
Because we can't figure it out.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Any other last bits? If not, we can go to our 705 filing. Do you have the notice, Jane?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
No problem.
And a lot of comments on the access, the newest access to the reservoir. A lot of positive comments on that.
Yeah, why you bring that up, we are going to try to get a sign made up for that. That'll have some educational information about that. Also, I've got a letter from the town engineer accepting the
jellyfish
system that we installed, the jellyfish.
Yeah.
And I would need a letter of the same type of thing, just a few lines saying that what we've done is complete, and so we can, because we've got that deed restriction on file with the state for the town property.
Okay.
Oh, are you talking about the encumbrance on the property?
Yes.
Okay, so that's called the order of conditions. That's the encumbrance on the property, on the deed. Which you would need to request a certificate of compliance for, but I made a I put a certificate of compliance together for this today. And it's just a boilerplate saying life is good, everything is going to be released.
Okay.
Should I hold your feet to the fire for that sign before I issue it?
Yeah, we'll see what we can do to move that up, but we've had one of our members has been promising to have that to us, or a draft, so we can forward the draft to you to review.
Signs are tough.
For 6 months or 9 months or something like that, but we'll get that over to you.
Okay,
right.
Thank you.
Well, it'll be ready for the commission to vote on tonight if they want, and then sign, and I can hold on to it until you get that signed, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Good plan.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So Bob, you might want to ask them to do make a motion for approving the certificate of compliance for the Edwards Road.
Do you have it on the minutes?
I don't.
Okay.
You could put it on the next minutes.
I think you're talking about agenda, not minutes.
Okay.
Well, I knew what he was
you're
talking about, which is why I said it too.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes. Is it on the agenda? Can we vote on it if it's not there?
Probably not. So we can put it on the next agenda. Could you put it on the next one, Diana?
Will do.
I don't want to get it mixed up with an
Technicality.
open meeting law violation.
Right.
Okay, and we'll try to get a figure or a sign over to you between now and then.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Lewis. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you.
All right, Jane, are you ready for the notice?
I am.
Okay,
Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public meeting on Monday, March 8th, 2021 at 7:05 in the, it says in the Gala meeting room, but basically by Zoom,
yeah,
on a request for determination filed by Michael Hyman for tree removal and vista pruning at 12 Descents Drive in Foxborough within 100 feet of a wetland resource area at the Beaumont's Pond. Application is available for public inspection online at the Conservation Commission's website. And that's about it.
okay, thank you. Mr. Hyman, are you, or is any,
Hi, right here.
oh,
I don't know if you
okay.
can see me. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Would you like to tell us what you plan to do?
Sure. So I have 2 oak trees on my property that I'll say they're within striking distance of my house. I had applied over 3 years ago to have them removed. They were approved for removal. I failed to get it done before the approval expired. So I'm basically reapplying to have 2 of those trees removed that I sent photographs in for, and they're basically just 2 hardwood trees that are close to the house, and I just want to have those removed. And I was going to also try and do some vista pruning. That's not within 100 feet of the water, but it's just part of what I was going to have done.
Okay, so this is the same application then that we approved 2 years ago then. Is that correct? Same trees? You're not
I want to say it was
Not quite, right? Is it?
It's
just
less
the 2?
trees. I mean, I applied for about, I want to say there were like a total of like 11 trees on there. I kind of did a wide sweep of anything I might want to get rid of, but I want to say that it was right after I got married. So that was 2016 that I applied for it. And then, so it's only 2 of those trees, but they were approved.
But you haven't taken the other trees down?
I've not, no. So these would be the only 2 of the original application that I'm asking for.
Okay, good. So you didn't neglect to notify me that you were taking the rest of the trees down, which is good.
Yeah.
That was part of the requirements of the determination.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jane, I don't think you made it out there today, did you?
No, but I know I can remember the site, and I looked at his
Okay.
pictures, and I took many pictures when I was there as well. So those trees are on the upper level, they're not on the slope. And you did mention vista pruning. So you wouldn't be doing vista pruning within 100 feet of the water, or what?
No, I would not be doing vista pruning within, these 2 trees are what I want to have removed. And
Okay.
That's basically your vista pruning?
No.
yeah,
The Vista.
I understood vista. I'm sorry, go ahead, Richard.
I was out there today and talked with Mike, and the Vista pruning is a tree that is to the side of the house and is infected by some sort of bee sting. I mean, Mike may know better about it, but he just wants to trim some of those limbs off.
Right.
They're almost in the front yard, the tree.
Right. Yeah, so that's the other,
Okay,
it's a
because
third tree.
I don't remember seeing that part of the filing. I thot it was just for the same thing as last time, but if it's
wasn't.
almost to the front yard, that's no big deal.
Okay.
All right, again, I didn't get out this time. I was out there the previous file and we walked it extensively. So since there's no changes, unless somebody else has some objections, I don't see any objection to those 2 trees coming down. Any comments from the board?
I'm just wondering, is the stump going to be left in place?
As I recall, yes. But
I didn't have
that
plans to grind it down. I was just going to leave the stump where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that was part of the original agreement to leave the stumps in place.
Yeah.
And these are 2 of the 5 trees that were identified prior.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone else? Somebody want to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing on 12 Desance Drive, M126P 5421.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay, Diana, did you get everybody identified?
Technically, we're supposed to roll call.
Yeah, that's the reason why I asked you if you identified everyone, that's all. Do you want me to go through the roll call?
You should.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Judy,
I,
Rich,
Aye.
Jim, are you still on?
Aye.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and Peter.
Aye.
Okay. Good. All right. Does anybody want to make a motion for a negative determination?
3, 6, and 6A, as usual.
Yeah.
Make that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded for a negative determination. Discussion. All in favor? Now I'll go backwards this time. Peter,
Aye.
Jeff. Okay.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
I was on mute. Sorry about that.
Okay. Jim,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Judy,
I,
Rich.
Aye.
Okay, we've got it. Thank you. Okay, that's all taken care of. Thank you, Mr. Hyman. Jane will get the paperwork out to you shortly.
So
Thanks for
I'll
your time.
need you all to come in and sign this.
Okay,
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank
more than
you.
welcome.
Thanks.
thank you.
Okay, being 7:10, we have an East Belcher notice of intent. Jane, you want to read the,
Sure.
again, you have the paperwork.
I have it in front of me. Pursuant to
All right.
Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public hearing on Monday, March 8th at 7:10 via Zoom on a notice of intent filed by Chris Gallagher, Foxborough Department of Public Works, for the reconstruction and widening of East Belcher Road. Portions of the proposed work lie within 100 feet of resource area. The application is available online for public inspection.
Mr. Gallagher, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, don't see you. Okay, there you are. I don't recognize you with the mask. Okay.
Good evening. So my name is Chris Gallagher. I'm the DPW director. I have Lance Del Piore, the town engineer, is on as well. This is a project on East Belcher Road that's really been in the works since before I started almost 7 years ago. At a preliminary level, we're really looking to widen that section of East Belcher Road, which runs from the four-way intersection of Spring Street, Mason Place, and East Belcher, up and down the hill towards the new River Ridge subdivision, and in that vicinity of the River Ridge subdivision entrance onto East Belcher Road. That road currently, as you get towards the top of the hill, is very narrow. There's some very large ledge outcrops on one side, actually both sides, as well as a lot of pine trees, utility poles, everything that just narrows that road down close to 16 feet in some of the narrowest locations. So this is something that we've been working with Weston and Sampson on. They were originally involved going back 8 years ago. We brought them back in to help us through the design of this road widening. It does include a drainage component to it. And that's why we're here before you tonight. So with that brief description, I'm going to turn it over to Lance to kind of go through some of the details that you have in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. As Chris said, my name is Lance Delpriore. Haven't got to meet everyone yet. I did get to meet a couple of you when we did the site walk, a few months back. But I'm sure many of you are probably familiar with the site. That the narrow outcropping is a real issue that we're concerned about, and we think definitely needs to be addressed. I mean, it's a big safety problem. But got to look about the project holistically, so we're trying to do the right thing and include, sort of drainage accommodations as much as possible, but it's a very narrow right of way out there. So it limits sort of the feasibility of a lot of options. So what we ended up doing was super elevating the road to one side, basically, and constructing a swale, which will collect the drainage from the full road width. And, there'll be check dams, and beneath the swale is what is basically an infiltration trench that's going to run along the length of the swale to infiltrate the water as it's going. There'll be driveway crossings at each driveway intersection. And then when it reaches the bottom, it'll be distributed through a level spreader. I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to review the plans of the NOI, but I'd be happy to bring them up and we can look at them together. But relatively simplistic design overall. We didn't, there's not a lot of room to be overly complex, unfortunately, with a lot of the design accommodations. And, even with these minimal accommodations, the total estimated project cost still came in at around $1 million. Which I'm sure most of you are aware, with our current financial situation and COVID-19 budgets being relatively tight, we don't have $1 million to throw at this right away. So realistically, we're probably looking at phasing the project, starting with the top portion, removing the outcropping, and then trying to, facilitate and install the drainage and the minimal expansion. The roadway width isn't widening significantly on the lower end. We're only trying to make a 22-foot roadway width, which is the bare minimum. We're just trying to get it traversable and safe. We're not trying to make it any bigger than it needs to be. So it'll be a significant expansion for the upper portion where it comes down to 16 feet, which is impossible.
Minimal, yes.
Two cars to pass each other at that width.
Impossible.
You're right. And which I believe was it you, Bob, who mentioned to me at the time, you said you prefer that to drive that at night.
Yes. You see the headlights coming at you.
Which is a smart reaction to a very unsafe situation, but it just goes to show exactly how bad that area is. So, I mean, that is the general gist of the project. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions you guys might have or take a look at the plans. I can bring those up as well.
I think my questions were answered with the site walk. I don't know about anybody else. So I'll open it up to members. Any comments?
I have a comment or a question.
Okay.
I didn't attend the site walk. So I'm just curious. So you're planning on infiltrating water from the road in the swale for the most part, but then if it's overflows, it goes into a level spreader. And where is that water going to be going into?
So let me bring up the plans and show you. It might be easier to sort of with the image to show in there. So if it's all right, I will share my screen. Let me see here. Okay, here we go. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Good. All righty. So at the base of the hill, shortly after the base of the hill there, as you're coming from Spring Street going down, shortly after that, There is you can see the property line here for, it's Peter and Linda. I'm sorry, I can't see the last name there, but it's that last 116 East Belcher Road there. So shortly after the property line for 116 East Belcher, it'll be discharged through the level spreader into that property there.
Does that answer you? Okay, now just for clarification, as we're looking at the plan, to the right is Spring Street, is that correct?
No, so Spring Street is further back.
So
but it's to our right looking at the plans.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Towards the right, you go up the hill towards Spring Street.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Yes, okay. Yep. I just want to clarify that. Okay.
So is the water, the excess water contained within that area that's shown as the level spreader? It doesn't go beyond that area?
So I can bring up the detail for the level spreader as well.
I guess my main concern is that the water is being discharged into a wetland.
So the water is not being directly discharged into a wetland. So the wetland is some distance away.
Okay.
And the level spreader, so it kind of travels this path through the level spreader, sort of infiltrating as it goes. And eventually it's, it could push through that, but it's not like directly discharging into a wetland there after there's distance between there.
Okay, so there's infiltration there as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, Judy, there's infiltration all along that whole swale.
Right. Okay.
So it's a significant improvement over what's existing going down there for the past. I don't know when this road was installed, honestly, but I'm going to guess, at least 50 years ago, if not more. What you have now is you just have the water just gaining speed, going right down this impervious surface, collecting all of the, heavy metals and petroleum products and everything that cars drop, on the roadway, and discharging basically directly into your wetlands, probably in a lot of cases as it goes down here. Whereas with these improvements, we're capturing it ahead of time, and sort of will be, preventing a lot of that from getting there. So this is, in my opinion, a significant upgrade in that regard, in terms of water quality.
Yep, looks like it.
Any other questions?
Judy, for clarification, where the spreader is going to be is on the parcel of land that eventually is being donated to the town?
Yep. That has the detention basin on it, right?
No, it's all,
no.
Remember the parcel of land goes around the subdivision lots?
Yep.
Well, where the spreader is coming into the corner of that land that is currently owned by the private developer.
No, I think that's already been transferred, David.
It has?
I believe it has.
Okay.
Parcel A.
Yep. I believe Jane, you provided me with that documentation as well.
Then, question, is that an easement that's being proposed on our land?
That was the water easement that was set up by the, Jane, maybe you know more about this as you went through the previous process with River Ridge. I think that was done by Bay Colony when
water easement?
Yeah.
Seems to me, there's a natural depression there, which would be an appropriate place to put this probably, I think. And it goes into a wetland of minimal value, I would say, although I don't have the right to say that. And I think that the wetland actually is has a pipe from it going under the street. Is that correct? Do you know, Lance?
Yeah, further down there is a pipe, which I don't know if it ever has taken water or not. But
well, I think there are two. I think there's one on one side of the River Ridge Road and one on the other side of River Ridge Road.
Oh, like further down. You're saying that
much further down,
but,
but basically at the two wetlands.
Someone's asked me to enlarge the plan. I'd be happy to do that. See, is that a little better maybe? But yes, further down, so we do Might show that pipe crossing. Yeah, so further down. This is the second crossing right here on the left side of the plan, I think that you're referring to, Jane.
Yes, and I think there was another one that was on
Maybe that's
the right-hand side of that new road.
There is.
And if it's not on there, you should probably.
We made a
I'm
point.
not positive, but I'm pretty sure.
We made a point to, I think from our last discussion, we made a point to make sure they included any crossings to be represented. So
It is in the plan set.
Yeah.
It's right at station number 30
okay.
on the plan set. So it's on that same sheet, Lance. It's just over to the right side of that.
Oh, I'm sorry. My window of people was blocking it here. I apologize. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I see it now here. Station 30. Chris is correct.
Could you point
Any
to
other?
it?
Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Right here?
Yeah. I
That's
can't really
station
see it
30.
on my screen. It's a small screen. Okay.
Sorry, I can enlarge it
So
again.
it is there.
We do show it on the plan, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, Judy, what it is it drops into like a depression next to the entrance of issue, that 116, next to
Yeah.
116. And there is a little natural depression in that area, which would eventually end up in that wetland. But
Yeah.
the wetland is hardly high quality. It's basically a wetland that could have been caused from the roadway drainage in the first place.
Yeah, I think I know the area you're talking about.
I think you do.
Right. Any other questions, comments?
It looks good. My only concern would be the time of year.
We did discuss that,
as we
Jane, and
discussed.
yeah. So I mean, we're aware of that issues, and we plan and hope to respect them, as much as possible.
Well, I'll help out in any way that I can. If I have to be out there and make sure that nothing crosses when you're working out there, I would do it for you.
I appreciate
you'd lie
that.
across the road just to keep the traffic down. I know. So, is there anyone, quote, in the public that's logged in to this would like to make any comments or questions? Or do we just have the board members and the applicant? See, that's the trouble with Zoom. I don't know who's quote in the audience.
I'll stop scaring the screen for now. I feel like I'm hogging the space here. Sorry.
Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, can we close it, Jane?
Oh, you're muted, Jane.
Muted. Jane, unmute.
Sorry about that. I don't see why not. After all, our town engineer has been the one who wrote it up, and he knows all about the stormwater requirements, and he's received a letter saying it would not constitute a take under the Mass Endangered Species Act. And they've had us come out a long time ago to give our input. So, I think that I don't see any other issues if no one else does.
Okay. So hearing that, somebody want to make a motion to close the hearing?
Make the motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor? Again, roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
All right, I said done deal. Thank you very much. We'll get
Thank
an
you.
order of conditions
Thank you
out
all.
tomorrow, right, Jane? No, a little bit longer, but we'll get an order of conditions
Excuse me,
out.
order of conditions will be issued by the next meeting.
Okay, all right,
It'll just be a boilerplate, I'm sure.
yeah, okay. With that, you got another file?
I do.
Jane?
Yes. Let's see.
Now, I'm looking at the agenda. What is this M182P029? refer to?
That's
Usually we
the map.
just,
That's the map and parcel. Look at the bottom. There's a little
Yeah, the key is on the bottom,
okay, all right.
not parcel. It's
Okay, but we
helpful to
usually
know.
don't put it on the agenda. We just usually have the file number, so, okay.
Well, we've been doing that for a while now, Bob, because it's
Now you have it.
complicated.
All right.
Thank you for noticing. So you want me to read the legal notice?
Yes, please.
Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, Conservation Commission will open a public hearing on Monday, March 8th, 2021 at 7:15 via Zoom on a notice of intent filed by Chris Gallagher, Foxborough DPW, for a replacement well at Station 6, which is Witch Pond, at 80 Cedar Street. Portions of the proposed work lie within 100 feet of a resource area. Application is available online for public inspection.
Okay, thank you. Just one comment on this and any of the water stuff. When you're writing your minutes, please identify Bob Worthley versus, make it a W, Bob W versus Bob B. Because I'm reading my minutes, your manager's report. I get confused sometimes which Bob you're referring to.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. My manager's report, not the minutes, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, you're on again.
All right, I'm going to be brief on this one. With me I have tonight from Environmental Partners, Alyssa Longo and Ryan Trahan. And I'm going to let them do all the heavy lifting on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just going to share my screen and run through a few quick slides to give you guys some information on the project. All right. So yeah, my name's Alyssa Longo. I'm here with Ryan Trahan and we work for Environmental Partners. We're working with Chris and the Water and Sewer Division to help them implement the replacement well 14R at their Witch Pond site. To give you a little background, this is the 80 Cedar Street parcel highlighted in yellow here. It's right on the edge of town next to Plainville and North Attleboro. And the site includes Witch Pond, the Witch Pond treatment plant, and wells 14 and 15. And both of these wells have reached their useful service life. The town has had to redevelop the wells more frequently. They've been producing less water, and there's also been a decrease in water quality. So the town started looking at how they could replace the wells, and we found a suitable site near well 14. So we've gone through the process of getting this replacement well approved by Mass DEP, and we've drilled the well, and now we're just looking to connect it into their existing system. And that's what we're presenting here tonight.
Oh, now, how old are those wells, by the way?
I think they're both at least 50 years old, but Chris would know better.
I do not have a date on those. I know the treatment plant is 13 to 14 years old now. And the wells did not get touched or there was nothing done at the time the treatment plant was built. So it's they're at least 14 years old.
Okay. Thank you.
So we had the site around well 14 surveyed. They have this existing gravel road which runs to their well 14 station, which is just a small brick building. And then right across from the building here is where we drilled the replacement well. And this green line here is the wetlands which run directly behind the building. And then there's additional wetlands across the way in this wooded area. And so this red line here is the 25-foot no activity zone. So you can see the existing well station is in that 25-foot buffer. And then the new well that we've drilled is within the 100-foot buffer. So the work that we're actually proposing, it's pretty straightforward. We want to put an area of crushed stone and chain link fence around the replacement well just to protect it. And then we're going to run about 50 feet of ductile iron pipe and electrical conduit from the replacement well over to the existing building. And then we'll core into the existing building and tie into the piping that's already there. So we'll be installing one new hydrant assembly before we tie into the building. And then we'll be demolishing the existing pump and abandoning the well in here. We'll be replacing some of the piping. And then once we connect to the piping inside the building, there's no additional external work. So we're proposing we'll have filter stock installed around the limits of work throughout construction. And we'll also have a stabilized construction entrance at the end of the access road. And so there is no impact to the wetlands themselves. The site is just outside the wetlands, but we do have obviously some impacts in the 25-foot zone, and that's just associated with the hydrant installation. That's really the only permanent impact. Temporary impacts are the trenches that we'll be digging to install the pipe. And those will all be graded to match the existing grades and then covered with gravel to match the existing conditions. And then within that 100-foot buffer zone, the permanent impacts are the crushed stone and chain link fence area. And the temporary impacts are just, again, the piping and the filter stock throughout construction. And then the only other resource area that we're affecting is the flood zone. You can see most of the site is within the zone A, including all of our proposed work here. So the permanent impacts to the flood zone are just that hydrant installation and our crushed stone area with the chain link fence. But we're not doing any grading, we're not doing any clearing, so we're not impacting the flood storage. And the temporary impacts associated with construction are just the erosion control, stabilized entrance, and installation of our pipe and conduit. So this is just part of the town's overall plan to improve their water sources and to continue to meet their demand. And this will help restore capacity at the Witch Pond site and is the first step to maybe abandoning well 15 in the future and relying only on well 14. And this project is similar to one we presented to you last year, which is over at their Oak Street site where they replaced 3 of their existing wells. And that construction work is currently underway. They're in the process of connecting to their Oak Street facility. And the intent of this project is pretty similar to that as well. So that's pretty much a general overview of what we're proposing. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
I guess my first question is, I thought I saw part of this and I did not read the whole file, quite frankly. I thought there was from Sprague Road, you were going to bring a pipe in to put additional water into the treatment plant.
So that is part of a separate project. We're working on that design as well. That'll bring the raw water from Sprague Road to the Witch Pond treatment plant.
Okay.
On that as part of a separate project.
Okay. All right. So there'll be a future filing then.
Correct.
So I put the wrong thing into my agent's report because I was thinking it was all one big project, which is why.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So it's just the well. Okay.
This is just that well connection. So this is similar to, like Alyssa said, the Oak Street.
Sure.
Where we're utilizing the existing building and pump house. The new well is already drilled and in place. We're just going to do that connection work from the new well to that pump house. Use the existing brick building that's there. That's only 13, 14 years old now, and tie into the system that way.
Okay, good. Any questions from the board? Comments?
I hate to do this.
No, you don't, David.
Chris, Conservation Commission owns 7+ acres of land out of that parcel. We own basically the frontage along Cedar Street. And it was part of an acquisition that the state also contributed towards. Goes back to the Zappo subdivision and the developer. And there was an agreement later on concerning a bunch of the house lots on the opposite side of Witch Pond. But I just wanted to let you know that that first map that showed the whole area in yellow being town land or water department land is wrong. There is a good chunk that we're responsible for. And I'd be willing to come down and show any of his, the information that we have on hand. I think that was the last parcel of land that the state contributed funds towards buying as a joint acquisition by the Conservation Commission and the Water Department.
Okay.
Does that create a problem?
I believe Ryan has done research on that. Chris, you probably are aware of it.
Yeah, I'll have to check in on that tomorrow morning. David, is your thought that
what you're planning to do has nothing to do with our land?
Okay.
Okay, and the 400-foot radius around the new well is well away from our boundary line.
Okay.
I just won't say where our rear line is in relationship to your treatment plant.
I see. Okay.
All right, any other questions, comments? Again, any reason why we can't close it, Jane?
Well, if David says that the line of the proposed work, the demarcation or whatever, if that's on the water department land, not the conservation land, then I'd say yes.
It appears to be.
There's what?
It appears to be all on water department land.
I know that it's kind of mixed up over there. It's all preserved in perpetuity, I believe, regardless, even though it's water department ability to use to create what they need to. But I don't see why it couldn't be closed if it's basically the same thing as what was done in Oak Street, Lamson Road.
Okay. All right. With that being heard, somebody want to make a motion?
Make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll do a roll call. Jim, you're up first.
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we need anything else, Jane? Jane, you're mute again.
I'm trying to unmute myself.
Okay.
I do not think you need anything else.
Okay.
I just have to get the order together and
Okay.
fashion it similar to the Oak Street one.
All right, very good. Thank you,
One
Chris.
question. Oh,
Yes.
Bob, one question.
Okay.
Jane, we have any turtle issues since you're the expert in that area?
I know that there was a lot of mocking about the turtle tunnel or something like that. I was not involved with the original filing, so I'm not aware of it. Chris, do you have any idea? Was there a special habitat made for it?
not that I'm aware of.
I think there was.
I
Except
haven't.
I think it's for a turtle that's since been delisted, although that area still needs to be preserved and protected.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
I
I mean,
didn't look into that.
we can look at that. We
Okay.
can do morning site walks to see if there's any evidence of them.
I think mainly this is the work that you're proposing to do is in the area that's currently a gravel road area and a turnaround, correct?
Correct.
So I'm not too concerned about impacting that stuff, although please be careful when you're doing the work.
There's not a lot of sunlight back there either, Jane. So they're not out sunbathing out over there.
Excellent. Good to hear.
I'm learning.
Is it within the estimated habitat area that you have to go to the NH for approval?
No, that area is not.
I don't think it's on there anymore. It used to be on there for something else, like some rare butterfly or something, but I think it's been delisted. I think it's, if a record is more than 20 years old, it goes away. And I think it was something like that.
And the butterflies moved over to Oak Street, so
There you
we
go.
got them taken care of.
Different butterfly.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Okay,
you.
take care. Have a good evening.
You too.
Next on the agenda is the Foxborough Art and Nature Conservatory. Is Nicole?
Hi, how are you, everyone? I'm
Hi.
Vashon Hanlon. I came briefly to a meeting before to get a letter of support as a potential, because I wasn't on the agenda. So some of you met me and heard the idea very quickly because I didn't want to take too much time of your meeting. But the grant has been approved. I did receive some funding. It's less than what I had asked for. So originally I had thought that we would encourage people to visit 10 of the conservation areas in the wonderful guide that Jane had put together in 2018. But I think what we're going to do, I met with Jane at the Lane property and we're looking like 5 to start with. And the idea is that I'm going to be working with Christina Metcalf to actually create QRC codes with either existing signs or today I just heard there's some other signs going up in some of the places nearby, so maybe we need to talk to them before they create their signs. But just adding a code that when a person visits the site, they will pull up a welcome to this site, thanks for visiting. While you're there, look out for these things. And for example, at the Lane site, I did like a quick little conservation passport. Can you see me still? I'm pulling it up to read it. Can you see me still? Okay.
I can see you.
So, okay, good. Yeah, I don't know if I can share it if I'm not hosted, but I have questions like, what containers on the property help hold rainwater to use for watering the native plants on the property? Question mark. How many are there? So they would have an opportunity, a way to answer these questions. Second question that I thought, these are just example questions based on what Jane and I saw. Based on this sentence, where do you think the riparian corridor is for this property? The children stood and watched the river move along the riparian corridor and saw people fishing off the edge of it. I'm not sure if we see any people fishing there, but it was just a sentence. And then which of the following wildlife might you find here? Wood ducks, A, wood ducks, B, eastern chickadee, C, otter, D, eastern box turtle, and E, all of the above. So, I mean, I just put those in there. There might be other ones that we want to say specifically, and I would work with Jane on that. What area of the property used to be a white cedar swamp? And I put hint, you might find some stone steps that lead up to nothing nearby. And where can you find the Hawkins bench? What island can you see from the Hawkins bench? A, Strawberry Island, B, Blueberry Island, C, Raspberry Island, D, Cranberry Island. So these are just very quick ideas of like ways that I thought we could get people excited and exploring on the conservation sites. So the idea is that they would go in, they'd have some questions to explore. I mean, there's also a story walk. So, maybe what's the story walk at this site? There's a lot of cool things that we could highlight. And I'm going to use the guide to pull out some different things, but that was just a very quick example of what I was thinking. And at the end, they'll go in to answer the questions, is my vision, and they'll get a thank you from an artist. So my idea is that I'll have 5 sites and 5 artists. They might be a singer, a musician, they might be somebody that does plein air painting, they might be a poet, and they might, recite poetry. All the idea is that during this pandemic time, I've been really aware that I found spots around Foxborough that I didn't know about, and as an artist myself, I've been inspired to paint or draw or do things more around. And I thought, this might be a really cool way to combine supporting nature, conservation, and art at the same time. I have Michael Weber. I don't know if he's actually on there, but he had given me a support letter as well to say that they will record the little thank you that will pop up in the final QR code when they pop on. So the artist will say, thanks for coming to my favorite site, my favorite spot. I love the Lane property. I love whichever property they've been connected with. And this is what I was inspired to do at this site. And then I would like another layer of this to be that visitors could upload any art, like photographs or drawings, or maybe they wrote a poem that they were inspired and that they can upload. And because Christina Metcalf's going to work with me to create the QR codes, and basically at the end of them visiting the 5 sites and kind of checking off that they visited them, they'll get a certificate from the town that they have been, had their passport completed to visit the sites and seen them. So that's the idea. Any questions before I go on to like the timeline or anything like that? Do you want me to just spiel it all out and then we can ask the questions? Okay.
Just a quick question for you. Are you getting any assistance from the Foxboro Reporter to get it publicized more, or something of that nature as well?
Yeah, I will. So so the timeline. So right now I'm putting together the request for artists that, so I can get some artists to connect to basically adopt one of the sites, each of those 5 sites. I'm working with you all. I talked to Jane about which would be the best sites that we would like to bring, that we would like to highlight to start with. So the ones, and Jane, correct me, because we're talking about lots of different things. Saley, is that what you say for the property? So Lane is one, right? Saley, Rumford River, Greenbelt. Jane and I talked about how we want to get more eyes out there to help reduce ATVers. And so the more people that are walking and exploring might help us to really, to get more awareness and more kind of love about the site. I did go out there, Jane, with my husband, and there's some trees that have been cut down on the path. I have some pictures that I took for you to send. So I'm not sure what you all are used to seeing out there, but my husband and I were actually very sad. He works for Fish and Wildlife Service, and I'm an environmental educator that works at Moose Hill as a teacher naturalist in addition to other things. So I was like, oh, there's so many great cool little spots, but also you can see the impact of a lot of stuff happening out there.
Jane, a quick question for you. Where would you have the access point for Rumford River?
Mason Place.
Mason Place
for sure. And then in the future, the River Ridge subdivision.
Okay. All right. I just wondered how you were going to get into there.
What's that, Nicole?
Yeah, I went in on Mason Place and we parked at the cul-de-sac at the end of the road and then just walked up to the little trail. Your sign of no ATV and that kind of vehicles on the trail was still there.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's exciting. Anyway, so but you could see, and like construction's very close by, as you told me, that stuff is happening very close by on Belcher and that area. So anyway, I think the idea is that people would go like one individual or a family. So it's not like we have to have large group access at each of these sites. Though I do have something exciting that happened after I talked to you, Jane. But let me just run through what I have as ideas from talking to her. Willow Street, Canoe River. Judy, I heard you live kind of near there. Maybe I need to brainstorm with you about like questions and thoughts there. But that area I've been exploring myself just a little further along with King Philip Rock, but I know there's lots of neat like little areas there. Maybe the Greeley Pond entrance. And then the last one, I think we said this one was Oak Street, West Montgomery Way. I couldn't remember if you said yes to that one or that is another potential. So those are the ones that I'm going to be exploring. I would love if I could get, in addition to an artist at each site, I would love if a board member or somebody who loves these conservation lands would love to meet me. I know Jane is a lot on her plate, but I would love if any of you wanted to meet me and hike to like help me know the space better, help me know what you love about those spaces so that I can highlight that for visitors, because you, in my opinion, are the experts of these spaces. So that's
okay.
in a nutshell.
Jane,
but I will tell you the other part.
Jane, a question for you.
So I
How
have
about
the Foxborough reporter will definitely be part of.
Okay.
What, Bob? Sorry, you're breaking up.
Okay. Jane, how about the upper dam, upper reservoir?
That would be a really good one, actually. The West Street, I mean, the Western Oak Street area, that's something that's more a future thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't have very good trails in there, but that's an excellent idea, Bob. I was racking my brain thinking about what would be best, but that's a better one to have it.
Where is that one? Sorry, can you?
That's on Lakeview Road. You're
right
breaking up.
Lakeview Pavilion.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the pond from Lakeview Pavilion, and you walk up to, it's a really easy walk, and you end up at a beautiful Upper Carpenter Pond.
Yeah, I could walk with Nicole up in that area as well.
Cool. You could make me join you as well. I need excuses to get outside.
I know, right? It was nice to go out and lane, because I had only been to part of it. So in the past, I've established some of the story walks in the town, like at the YMCA. And so I had visited the one at the Lane property, but I didn't get out onto the point and everything. So that was nice to see those other areas. So I think, Diana, you can give everybody my email address. Do you need in case anybody wants to email me that, hey, we can meet, but I can also give you my phone number as well. To say how to connect with folks.
Yeah, I would be happy to walk with you as well.
Okay. All right, so I'll just communicate. Maybe Diana, you can help me like figure out how to communicate with folks, and I'll set that up. I'm meeting
Nicole. If you want to send an email to me, I can forward it out to the commission members, and then they could get in touch with you individually.
That's
wonderful. I like to keep all communication going through the office rather than individuals getting together, just to make sure I don't get into any open meeting law violations, et cetera, et cetera. So if all the communications go through the office, it would be appreciated that way.
I just mean you have to reply individually. You can't get into the group
reply all is no.
Yeah, I know. I've learned. So I'm also the chair for the Foxborough Cultural Council. So it's like I'm wearing two different hats when I'm doing all these different things. But and so I'm getting to learn all this open law stuff as well. So I'll only talk to maybe 2 of you at a time, right? At the most, right? But I think it would be great, yeah, if I can get individuals and just share that. So the thing I was gonna add, so my timeline right now is to pull together the artists, walk with you all in the month of March, beginning of April, and narrow down those 5 sites, make sure I have it all right. And then April 15th, I'll be talking to Christina to say, this is what I have so far. Oh, and also I'll be, as I work with you all to get the questions like that I just shared, some ideas like that, you know, kind of creating that. I'm mindful that not all the sites are going to be ADA accessible. So what I will do is, as frequently as possible, try to just see like in an accessible area what people could explore. So like maybe there's 10 questions and they can answer 5 of them. Like I know Lane might be somewhat accessible right near the center, but like Mason Place, like just going there to Rumford River, that wouldn't have been very accessible. So I'm kind of trying to, that'll be another question I'll ask you guys, how to help like make it accessible, but just awareness. And then by May, I want to get the videos done with the cable access. And then the kickoff will be at the Lane property to start the passport in June. And so my idea is that the last like end of school for the kids in Foxborough is June 16th, unless we have some crazy snow that hits us, which could happen. But I'm planning around then that we would have the kickoff celebration at the Lane property. So like people would automatically be able to do their first like stamp, you know, in the passport idea. And I went into the library because I was looking for ideas for the story walk chain. And I was telling them about this idea because I have a lot of friends over there at the library. And Betsy Buckland's husband works at the Lane property. And so I was talking to her. And anyway, the new director of the youth programs, she wants to do more stories outside. So she wants, so I have, they're willing to do a storytelling time at each of these 5 locations, like with their storyteller, like their employees to come out and do a story as well as, you know, having exploration. So that was pretty exciting. I was thinking, well, there's going to be another layer. Storytelling is a type of art too. So I just wanted to tell you that it's blooming. Even
Nice.
as I've
Very
been
nice.
just kind of networking and connecting with people, I think it's going to be an exciting project. So I just, with them for storytelling, we have to like work on making sure there's parking. Bathrooms is something that they ask about, and I know we don't have that, so I don't know what we're going to do about that. So I need to work with them and you all about how do we help partner out with that. So I think that is all. And the other thing that I had thought to talk to Christina about is a way for when the people visit, I might have said this, but when they visit, if they're inspired, then they can upload a picture that then there would be on a website with the town to say, guess what, people are exploring, you know, all these conservation areas. These are some of the neat things that they're being inspired about or seeing, like maybe they take a photo of something they love there. So I'm trying to make it an opportunity, and definitely it'll be, I think, a great story for the reporter to get involved with, Bob, because it's a very, you know, touchy-feely, personable story. Sure. So I've worked with them before with the story walks, so I know some people over there that would be excited to work with us. So yeah, so that's, I think, what I have so far. My plan and vision. So any
Okay, it sounds exciting. And again, anything to get the people onto the property and to appreciate it and enjoy it and not abuse it is one of the main goals as far as I'm concerned. So
Yeah, I
It's-
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
Any other comments from the board members? Oh, let me do all the talking.
I'm not a board
I-
member, but
I
I
know
think
you
it's a
all-
great idea, and there's a lot, it's a good jump off point for a lot of things.
Yeah, I think so. And so Jane had asked me, like, will this just happen once? My vision is that, you know, you have all these different properties, but even if we just stuck to like the first 5, and then maybe we had another artist that was interested and they wanted to, like, we could update it with new questions. We could update it with new artists, you know, like, so I think there's a way, but I know some places like Wading River, David, I work with somebody, like, take care of an older man who lives down South Street, Cedar, you know, you cross over, and I know that cemetery, Wading River. So like, I know that's a site that's not a very easily accessible like place. So like, I'm not even thinking about places like that, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out how do we help people, you know, love and care more for the conservation areas. And artists are really struggling right now and are often really inspired by nature. So I just feel like it's a win-win
The
situation.
accessibility things that you're talking about are part of what we're planning to update the open space and recreation plan this year. And a large part of that is accessibility. Whenever the commission has any projects to review, if there's any way to squeak in accessibility, they do it.
Okay.
So that would be another excellent point. You may want to look at the open space plan at some point.
Yeah.
And like I said, we are updating it soon.
Excuse me. Okay.
So again, any comments from any board members? You like it? You don't like it?
Nicole, I think it's a great idea. I would just caution, don't get too ambitious. It's like planting a garden. Start small and then, you know, make it bigger as you can accomplish everything you want to do. And another thing
That's
is,
why I went from 10 to 5, David. I already have like reduced my vision to smaller amounts. So yeah, I hear you.
well, a couple of the sites are fairly easy. They are accessible by a parking area and things like that. There are some other sites that have no real parking. And only Lane property would have a toilet facility for a certain time of the year. I think just the summer, Jane?
No.
No, we haven't done that. We haven't done that, but if there are certain groups that go there, they may put a porta potty up there for a couple of days, but it's been frowned upon. It's too much of a hassle, unfortunately. And yeah, we've broached that subject many times, as well as trash receptacles, and it doesn't go over too well.
Yeah.
So Nicole, that's something you might want to consider. Your time of doing your walk, or especially with kids. The storytelling could be done in a nice area or two on the Lane property, and you know, then they can just pack them up in the cars and leave. So this is just something that's time-wise. And secondly, how are you going to put little signs up? You could put like little number signs on the trees or in the ground, or?
Oh, you mean like for the questions that I was talking about? I wasn't going to put any numbers up. I was just going to have them, as they're exploring, to like be looking around, and then they'd have a way to answer the questions. So they would kind of have their scavenger hunt of things that they know they're looking for and thinking about, and then they'd have like on their phone that they'd be answering things. Which again, that's accessibility. Does everybody have a phone? I've been thinking I might need some paper versions, but I just don't like to increase litter. So if anybody has creative ideas about that, I just knew the QR codes because my kids are in the sports, it's been a new thing that we've had to do every time you go to one of the fields. You have to go in and answer a questionnaire of, for COVID. And I thought, well, that might be an easy tool to just like you pull it up on the phone and then you have to answer certain questions. So I knew that that's a fairly easy thing. And most people, when they visit, have a phone. Yeah. So that's something I still need to kind of rack my brain on to give the most accessibility, but that's where I'm leading to start with. Like you said, start the garden small and we'll build from there. But I'm very big into inclusivity, so I will still be pondering those things. So,
any other comments, questions? All right, thank you. It sounds exciting to me, and I see Jane's giving it a thumbs up. So we will be more than happy to work with you and do some site visits so that you can get better acquainted with the different sites. So again, keep all communication going through either Diana or Jane, and we can get some site walks going very shortly.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay,
all
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
I appreciate it. Take care.
Okay. Yep.
Bye.
Thank you again. Yep.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Jim, do we have some minutes you want to bring up?
I think we've lost him. He must have had to go to the other meeting he mentioned.
Okay. Jane, you got order of conditions for Alice Bradley. You want us to come in and sign those?
You actually have already signed the signature page, and
Okay.
I just put the order of conditions together and the attachments today, and I send it out to all of you. It's just basically boilerplate, except for the project description, and it really isn't altering anything, and it's fashioned somewhat after the Ridge Road filing recently from the McHugh goes. It has similar language to that one.
All right.
So I think you're all set with it. Just give it a quick scan if you want, but it's the signature page is signed, so it should go out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anything else?
Can I bring up an item? Bob?
Yeah.
We should get together and have a meeting with the Patriot Place big soccer project area before it leafs out. If we could do it late in the afternoon around supper time where most of the members could meet with them to have a walkabout as what they've done, what they still need to do or haven't started. And I mentioned this to Jane because once you get leaf out there, it's going to be harder, to see some of the things.
Well, you'll also be able to see what's growing and surviving,
Right.
especially in the restoration areas. Did you ever take pictures last time? I was looking at my notes and I had asked you to take a bunch of pictures.
No, I forgot my camera.
David.
And you didn't want pictures on never mind. My camera that, whatever. So next time I'll take the iPad out with me. So could you set that up with them for another site walk? It was less than a month ago when we were out there.
Right.
I think it'd be best to go once things start growing, David, early May.
Well, I would say more April. You don't want to leaf out too much because then you can't see some of the areas interior-wise that we had discussed about whether they were isolated, whether they were wetlands and everything like that. You can see a lot of vegetation that they planted out there doing well. And they were pretty honest with us, Bob, about what was going on out there. very helpful.
Yeah.
And they had a couple blowouts on the steepest slopes on the edge of the soccer field, which they know they have to do something about, because some of the silt is getting into the bordering vegetated wetlands there. But they understood. They were really scratching their heads on how they're going to solve those two problems.
Yeah.
So
it's not going to be an easy fix for them, that's for sure.
They're going to have to plant something to stabilize the sides. I think we've been saying that all along. Stabilize it with low-growing shrubs or something like that.
Yeah.
Plus, we should work together as a group where there was a quite discussion up towards Cross Street and the amount of trees they had to remove versus, the vernal pool up there, and versus Judy's concerns about the trees being removed. That's on the southeast side of the big soccer fields.
Oh, up near Cross Street. Yeah, we didn't get up into that area at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and that was a big discussion point with everybody, especially Judy was quite concerned about what was going to actually happen there. But I think having a general meeting on site, as many members we can get out there, it'd be good.
okay.
And good relations too.
Oh yeah. I think we can maybe plan a little seed, Jane, a memo to either Woody, probably Woody would be the control point, and just say we're planning on getting out there before everything really, when it starts leafing but not fully grown, so that we can get a better visual. And then we can also find out what kind of progress they're making, because I would assume by then they'll have some information on how they're going to attack that slope. So, but just send him a little email.
We just got a progress report from Activist, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
They
Yeah.
didn't really say much was going on, but the ground's frozen and such, but I can ask them about that slope too.
Yeah, okay.
But we know the rainy seasons are going to come up. And I think it's good to get out there before everything leaves in. And that we walk the entire site, as many members as we can. Allow 2 hours, maybe 3, and hit the area. Also, you'll see the areas that are not being worked on, that they're going to wait probably until after the mud subsides. There are some areas that they have not completed, but they're not critical. But they want to do it this year. Well, Bob, they said they want to start the spring and summer to connect the academy with the main facility.
And they also have to do that turf field yet. So
right,
that should be coming up later this year. So yeah, there'll be a lot of activity out there before long.
Well, also, it might not be a bad idea to go out there during vernal pool season so we could hear the wood frogs if there are any. That'll be coming along in about a month.
Yeah.
Or less, actually, less. Next warm spell with rain, I suspect it's going to be a major movement, because supposedly the first movers, the blue-spotted salamanders, were crossing the snow in northern Bristol County about a week ago.
Oh, okay.
So they're ready to go. They're getting ready.
They're getting anxious.
South-facing slopes are melting.
Okay. So can you set that up with Woody then, Jane?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And
good idea,
Bob,
David.
Bob,
what's that?
We have another issue out there with Patriot Place and the farmer. His field's flooding a little bit.
Yeah, with Eddie Lawton, that's another thing I need to coordinate. But we need their permission because the blockage is on the Gillette Stadium's property.
Right. Well, I think it's an opportunity to, let's get together to take a look at this and respond to the, what can be done. It was suggested that we look from the Gillette side at the situation
Which is why I would need to ask Gillette about it, to schedule it with them, coordinate with them. We can't really go on their property without their permission and look at their culverts and such.
Okay,
So maybe I can kind of like drop a little breadcrumb when I do schedule the other thing and
all
give
right,
them a heads up.
very good. Dual purpose memo.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? Everybody shaking their head. I don't.
No.
Let me get this one. Okay. Then do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to end the meeting.
To adjourn? Do I hear a second?
Thank you. Looking for that.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Uh,
No,
Aye.
Diane, I'm not going to take a roll call. Good night.
Aye.
Thank you, one and all.
Aye.
Good night.